Oh, because of the degree?
No, just like salary wise.
Everyone that I know, they're like jumping to cybersecurity, and I just don't understand why.
Because the salary is like,
I mean, bro, but think about the competition.
I know
So many,
there's
so
gonna be
many kids, like IT,
Cyber, right?
cybersecurity. Like if you want an easy escape from CS, you go to IT or
No,
cybersecurity.
I hear business.
Which is,
People just
I
like
mean,
don't do business. But their demand is growing. Like
what?
or like
No,
I should say the number of kids entering into
no, don't get me wrong.
cyber and IT does
It's
grow.
cybersecurity is great.
Gonna be a chance for the video.
Alright. Like step up. Or for the amount of, oh my, everyone that I know is cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Only cybersecurity.
Yeah, like when I interned,
You do a good job.
they don't rebound.
Hopefully it comes back.
Yeah, it's just a cycle.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see. This November.
well,
Dude, you see our interview clips? They're so funny.
Well,
Kamala's interview.
what you said.
Alright.
All right, inshallah.
Oh, sorry.
No, let's get started, guys, inshallah.
You called me to the wedding.
I'm just going through the waves.
All right, brothers, inshallah. Please recite aloud salawat, inshallah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Inshallah. All right, so we'll open up with the hadith of the day, which Brother Abdullah has shared with us. From عن أبي الحسن علي بن موسى قال سأل رجل رسول الله. A man asked the Holy Prophet, right? This is on the authority of Imam Ar-Rida alayhi salam. ما حق الوالد على ولده? What's the rights of the father upon the son? فقال عليه السلام لا يسميه باسمه ولا يمشي بين يديه ولا يجلس قبله ولا يستسب له. So the answer of the Holy Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام was he should not call his father by his name, he should not walk ahead of him, he should not sit until his father has seated himself, and he should not do such acts as a result of which people abuse his father. So, what do you guys think about that? So four things, right? Don't call your father by his name, that you shouldn't walk ahead of him, you shouldn't sit before he sits down, and you should not do acts which cause people to curse your father, curse basically your origin, right? Um, so, I think this is really important because a lot of people today, like, they don't really have this etiquette. It's like with their parents, right? It's like I've seen some kids, they like call their parents by their first name,
It's a very common habit. Very, very common.
It's surprising. It's
wild.
yeah. It's like they treat their parents are okay with that. Their parents are like, "Oh yeah, treat me like your friend, just call me by my first name." And it's very odd because why do you guys think that authority is so important? Do you think, like, the prophet is saying that these are the rights of the father upon the son? Why do you think that's important? Someone might argue, oh, isn't it better to just treat your child like a friend? What do you guys think about that?
I think father is like the reason you're part of the reason why you're there. So like it's like respecting the person that created you in a sense.
Okay, but what if your father says, okay, I'm not into all this, high respect type of stuff that you have to treat me with all this, oh, you are my origin. I'm gonna put you on this pedestal. We just be friends. We can all learn from each other. What if Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing? So what if somebody argues like that? What would your response be to that?
There needs to be a line of respect. So basically, once you call your dad by his real name, once you break all these rules, okay, fine, you did it once or twice, but it basically opens up for many other things, and it just removes the respect.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? Of course, it takes time.
Yeah, but don't you respect your friends? Like, why do you think with the father there has to be an extra element of, you don't sit down before he sits down, you don't walk in front of him, you don't call him by his first name, you don't do things that engender hate or insult towards him, why do you think all those things are important? And, like, I mean, let's say, your friends, for instance, Brother Muhammad, like your friends, you treat them with respect. I mean, you might call them by their first names, but you treat them with respect. Why can't you show that same level of respect to your father? What's the problem with that?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think it would come with age, as in your father's been around longer, so they've experienced longer, they know more. And then there's like different aspects. So I'm just throwing out some of them.
He's saying the assumption of more knowledge.
So do you think seniority is the only element? So if somebody's more senior to you,
seniority to more
yeah.
knowledge.
So like because he's your elder, you're saying that you should
There's
respect
also like the emotional part of it, like they take care of you. They're the reason why you're growing up in such a way. So I think that's in like it's like a sense of respect, but that's more of like an emotional perspective versus the seniority one that I was looking.
Mhm.
Watching, my brother with my nephew, I think some of us forget the first 10 to 12 years of our lives.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the big reasons for this. It's forget like mutual respect and whatever, but because your father started with the bounties upon you, when you had nothing to give, I think that is probably one of the reasons I would argue for just some kind of hudud, just kind of some kind of rights, beyond just being generous to your father, beyond just because one can argue with this hadith, right? It's like forget the is he a friend? Is he not a friend? What if he's a bad father?
Yeah.
What if he's
That was the question that I
objectively
was
he's a bad father?
That has bad influence on you.
Yeah, that's what
What
that was
do
my
you
thought.
so what are your thoughts then about before we get to that question, what do you think about this question about okay, why respect your father?
I think it's
Why give him this extra level of respect?
I
Is
think
it just because he's senior? Is he just because he's an
I
elder?
think at the very least it's the gratitude for the first years of your life where you had nothing to provide, but he provided, and in ways that you will never ever provide for others except for him at least, except for a child.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? What do you think, Brother Ahmed?
It would be to instill the importance of authority into a person. If you don't recognize the authority of somebody who has supported you for those formative years, how are you going to recognize the authority of somebody greater, like an imam or a prophet, or even the authority of Allah?
Yeah, I think that's actually that's actually I think you hit the nail on the head with that. Because if you look in the Quran, right, you see that Allah he says وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ إِحْسَانًا, right? Or وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Like you'll see Allah he couples the first thing he says is only worship me. Allah has decreed upon human beings that they must worship only him. So after Tawheed, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, and do good to your parents. Do ihsan to your parents, right? So that that ihsan that's mentioned in this verse, it's very interesting. It's like right after you recognize God's authority, you have to recognize your parents and they're right upon you. That's in the Quranic equation almost, and it's sort of like the first authority figure that you recognize in your existence on this earth is your parents, right? So if you can't show even the proper ihtiram, the proper respect to your parents, then how are you going to recognize other forms of authority? How are you going to recognize the awliya of Allah, like the imams, the prophet? How are you going to recognize their authority if you can't even recognize your parents' authority, right?
That's the first level of the game,
Yeah. So I think that is a very important element that I think Brother Ahmed pointed to, which I think makes a lot of sense. Of course, I mean, I think there's probably many other reasons we can think of, possibly along this front, like you said, uh, like basically shukrul mun'im, somebody who's given you ni'mah, you should thank him. So in that sense, your parents have given you ni'mah, they've given you blessings through, of course, Allah is the ultimate one who provides ni'mah, but through your parents, Allah has given you many blessings. So showing them that respect is necessitated. Showing them that gratitude, that makes sense. But I think the authority, it makes more sense from a Quranic angle because that's how the Quran has actually talked about showing your parents that level of ihtiram and respect, right? So okay, and then the question you brought up was interesting. So what do you guys think if your parents are not good role models or they don't really have those traits of
Two questions. One, if you think they're bad, and number two, if they are objectively bad. I think there's actually two separate questions.
yeah,
But either way, your respect for your father, mother shouldn't go away. Like for example, one of the examples, don't call your father by his first name.
right,
Like, even if your dad, Abdullah, is a bad example, bad person, etc. I mean, you're still gonna not call. You're still gonna call father.
right.
So like that sense of respect, it won't disappear just because you're
Yeah,
parents.
it's interesting. SubhanAllah, it wasn't his father per se, but Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he spoke to Azar, he would never call him Azar.
Yeah,
And Azar was like worshiping idols and was making idols and was
Right.
forcing Ibrahim to worship idols. So SubhanAllah, it's a very interesting, interesting.
yeah. Ahsant. I mean, in the Quran teaches you like all these individuals they're calling their father ya abati. It's like all with all this respect. And even according to our riwayat, Azar was not even the father of Ibrahim. He's more like he raised him.
He called him Abati.
But he would call him abati. Yeah, exactly. So
Despite him being like almost like a kafir.
Right. yeah. So I mean, for sure. I mean, so what do you guys think about that? Just because they are a bad example, um, it's interesting because the Quran actually addresses this very question, right? So it says, right, what is it? Uh, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ حُسْنًا وَإِنْ جَاهَدَاكَ لِتُشْرِكَ بِمَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ عِلْمٌ فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا. Like Allah's told you to do ihsan. He said, do husn, treat your parents with respect, right? Show that ihtiram to them. But if they strive against you, basically, they strive against you to make you associate partners with Allah, then don't obey them in that. So it's basically, you still have to show them that respect, but when it comes to taking their example, taking their bad traits, their bad habits, Allah tells you don't. That's where their ita'ah doesn't count. That's where that obedience doesn't count. Obedience is only to righteousness, only to virtue. But I think part of it's kind of when you're a kid. I think one thing also to recognize is like when you're a kid, you think of your parents as, these impeccable, perfect beings, right? Because you're still growing, you're still developing. But then when you become like a teenager and you become a little bit older, you start to realize your parents also have flaws. They're not perfect. And I think that's one thing. It's like this verse of the Quran, it's actually speaking to individuals who have that rationality and reach that level of puberty or maturity where they can see truth from evil, right? And so they're not following their parents blindly. Now they have that recognition and they're like, okay, this is something that Allah wants me to do. I don't care what you say. I'm going to do it. But they still show that ihtiram, they still show that level of respect because that's still a right that the parent has over you just for raising you, just for showing you that care in your years when you were growing up, when you were helpless, when nobody was there to support you. Your parents raised you through those years, so that's the minimum level of respect you can show them, as you get older. But um, still, that doesn't mean Allah's commanded you don't take their bad example, right? If you see them associating partners with Allah, don't follow them in that, right?
The ayah even continues, وَصَاحِبْهُمَا فِي الدُّنْيَا مَعْرُوفًا, and then
Right.
وَاتَّبِعْ سَبِيلَ مَنْ أَنَابَ إِلَيْهِ. So
Ahsant, yeah.
it actually tells you the exact formula. It says,
Yeah,
don't obey them, stay with them in the dunya, and treat them with respect, which is, there's some rights of respect, and then follow the path of those who actually return to Allah. So look for those people that are actually going to Allah. Go follow those people. So you still have to sahibhum. You still have to stay with them. You still have to, and actually another, sahaba, sahib. Again, we go back to the sahaba, sahib, right? Sahibhum. Even though they're mushriks, but they are sahaba as well in dunya.
yeah. I mean, I think it means basically accompany them, right? Accompany them, be there by their side. Don't abandon your parents, cut off that relationship. Some people, they do what they call qat'un rahim, right? Qat'un rahim means you cut that relationship. You say, you're a bad person. You are like alcoholic or a drug addict or whatever. You worship
Even
idols.
for
You
lesser sins, like
you
you just
yeah
called me names.
yeah because I'm cutting off my
You
relationship with you,
invite me
right?
to the party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, you don't engage in anything that's haram, right? But you still maintain that cordiality. If your parents, na'udhu billah, go that astray, you still maintain that cordiality with them, that respect, but you don't engage in those things that take you away from Allah, of course. But I think it's a really fine, may Allah never give us that type of bala, because it's really, really hard when your parent has those types of issues. But I think that's the thing. It's like your formative years, you don't really recognize that your parents have weaknesses. But when you actually reach that level of maturity and you become, in those teenage years, that's when you start to recognize, okay, your parents do have flaws. They do have deficiencies. They're not always right. They're not always perfect. But, still you've used that pedestal of understanding wilaya, understanding authority, right, when you were younger, to then transition to the real models of proper authority, which are the Ahlul Bayt, right, the Prophet, Allah, right, the Quran. Like, you start recognizing the true sources of authority, but parents are like a pedestal for you to be able to reach that true ma'rifah, that true recognition. So by you recognizing their authority in those early years, it helps to build you up to that capacity where you can understand um, that level of authority, right?
It's curious he used haq. He didn't say, it's not wasiyya, uh, it's not a recommendation. It's a right. Like, these are actually rights of the parents, one of the rights of the parents. So that you know, when you break hukuk, you actually get like actual sins for them. Versus, like, hey, we recommend you do this, but if you don't do this, you might get some consequences. Versus actually collecting sins and actually having things that'll hurt you in your life. So it's such interesting to use the word haq. And again, I'm going to repeat them just so that people that maybe didn't hear them before. The four things.
Yeah.
Because,
So
because again, I've seen it in my life, and I've seen others. Unfortunately, it's a common. These are all common things, and even getting propagated through social media, through even even like TV shows, movies. You'll see these habits actually in front of you. It's crazy, I know.
yeah, I mean, it's a complete breakdown of any authority structures. That's what society is coming to, trying to break down the traditional family, trying to break down, relationship between father and son, father and daughter. All these relationships, they're just trying to cut them all, and it's all, everybody's one. We're all equal. But that model is not what the Quran teaches. It's not what Islam teaches. And I think that we have to be able to articulate our beliefs and why we believe what we believe. Like, if somebody comes and asks you, okay, why do you guys believe in respecting your parents and doing all this stuff, being so deferent, showing so much, like, oh, you're my parent, I have to treat you like you're on some pedestal. Now you guys have like a framework to answer something like that. Like, look, this psychologically is actually very grounded. It builds your ability to recognize authority figures. If you don't have that type of training when you're young, you grow up, you won't recognize authority figures. A lot of these kids who, in their teenage years, in their elder years, they never had a father, for instance, at home. They never learned how to respect authority. The reason is because of that. Like, it's because of them not having that proper training. Parents, maybe mom was a single mom, that's a very tough life, of course, but mom is not there to actually instill those values of respect and discipline in their kid. And as a result, they just grow up and they don't recognize any authority, right? I think that's a very common thing, unfortunately, a common issue in our society. So, I mean, yeah.
If you want to see them again,
Yeah.
certain
So
habits.
so the four things were: he should not call his father by his name. He should not walk ahead of him. He should not sit until his father has seated himself. And he should not do such acts as a result of which people abuse his father. So I just want to ask about the last one. That's really weird. Or we'll say weird, maybe not weird, but like gharib, or it's a little bit of a strange type of wording. Like, don't do an act for which people will curse your father, right? What do you guys think about that? Any thoughts on that phraseology?
I think it's like if you are like your father's creation, like you you've learned like the morals, the type of person you are is because of your parents mostly. And so if you do something bad, people will look at you, and then that would also mean like people would look at you down, which would also mean they're looking down at your father, in a sense. They're like, oh, then like the family must have these attributes, like well, if he's doing this, and the family must have taught him wrong. And,
Right. So people associate you with what your father, you know, people say this thing, it's apple does not fall far from the tree, right? You guys have heard that, right? So people, I think this is a an English idiom, but it's in every language you can find it, right? That, you know, whatever you are, you're a reflection of your father, you know? So people automatically, when they look at you, they think, ah, his parents must have not raised him right. Or, you know, this must be a reflection of his father's etiquettes, right? So it's telling you don't behave with that type of akhlaq that people look at you and they're like, you know,
Like the best example, when a terrorist group, Alhamdulillah, does something, they, oh, Islam this, Islam that. They don't
Right.
really, when it's like a terrorist group does,
No, when terrorists.
Not there.
When terrorists do it in the name of Islam.
yeah,
people look at their religion, oh, this and that. I have actually a close friend the other day telling me that, oh, you guys do this and this and that. I'm like, because they look what's on the media,
yeah,
they look what people do and they judge.
right,
Our book, yeah. Same thing with the father.
yeah,
They see a kid, you know, reflecting the wrong, you know, I mean, sometimes the
Wh-
kid, right?
Whether it's true or not,
That's what I'm
the
saying.
father
Yeah,
is being blamed,
the
the
father's
mother is
being
being
blamed.
blamed.
Yeah.
It's true enough.
So, you know, but that's really sometimes I think when you're a kid, right? Sometimes that actually is an accurate reflection though. What the parents are teaching the kids at home comes out, you know, in their surroundings. They go out in society and if they're, for instance, you know, teach them, for instance, racist things, right? And then they go out and they start saying racist things. You know what's inside the house by what's being projected outside, right?
But brother,
Yeah,
I see some examples where like maybe I don't know them too well.
yeah,
They try their best, but the kid is just
Yeah.
yes,
Nuh alayhi salam,
of
like
course,
he said, in both ways, you're still gonna judge the
Yeah.
father,
yeah, right.
which is
It's very true. I mean,
Yeah.
there are circumstances where the kid is just like that. You know, the kid is just
he was
mischievous.
born.
The kid is just mischievous, and there's nothing you can do. You know, but I think this is where this hadith comes in because it's talking to individuals that have reached that stage of aql, right? That state of being able to discern truth from falsehood. It's saying don't do those things that people look at you and they're like, ah, look at this probably getting this from his dad. You know?
They're not addressing whether the people are correct or wrong. They're just saying people are going to do this.
Yeah,
So people sometimes wrongfully do that. So would you say Nuh alayhi salam was a bad person? No, you
Correct,
wouldn't say that, right?
Yeah,
So
you're right.
that assumption is not always correct. It might be correct most of the time. Allah, I'm not sure. Maybe majority of the time, it's more 50%. I don't know. But people are going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to insult your father, whether it's correct or incorrect. And in both regards, it's not good to bring insult to your father. Unfortunately.
Ahsant,
And
ahsant.
you know, it's also this hadith is very like hits really on the reverts. I think reverts have this problem. Unfortunately, you know, when they face their families, I think may Allah, I think, you know, bless them for the trials they face. You know, you have a family that is difficult when you revert to Islam, and then you have to still maintain relations with them. You have to still care for them. You have to still respect them, and may Allah grant them all
It's just
patience
very
for that.
hard with this society because let's be honest, it's not getting like the ethics, morals, everything,
Right.
teachings is getting, and like he said, they're literally showing it on TV.
It's common.
Yeah.
Like even if you don't see it, you're gonna see it in a movie. A kid staring at his parents, or
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a very common thing, and it's just I think that's the thing. It's like they're brainwashing you to just disintegrate all types of moral authority in your life and stop recognizing those familiar relationships, that family hierarchy. They're trying to break that family hierarchy. That's what a lot of this modern society is built on. So it's like really important to recognize these elements. And you guys will even, if you just have this cognizance, you'll start to see how many things around you in pop culture and in society are actually like designed to try to break these structures that exist, the traditional family. They're trying to attack it, you know?
And it's not only about Islam. They don't want any religion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
anything.
They want severe individualism. They
'Cause,
want
like-
everyone to be their own thing, so they can
Like,
control you.
like for example, Bible teaches some good things. I wouldn't
Right.
mind them following,
Yeah.
but they don't want anything.
Yeah.
I think the Bible has even more severe wording than this. I think that I remember I can't remember. It's like much more severe in terms of respect to the parents than what we say. But the Bible is
Bible has so many like deep and like
I
good things. Like if they were actually followed, they would have.
more.
Alhamdulillah.
Subhanallah. Yeah. Beautiful hadith. Thanks for choosing that. Mashallah.
Thank you for saying yes to the choice.
Mashallah.
All right, inshallah, we can start the next session. Inshallah. When we have more
Inshallah.
questions.
Were you going to present something or?
I'd rather do, unless you want to do the Quran session. Let's do that. That way, I think. Let's do the Quran. That's way we have.
Let's see. What did you have on the schedule here? Let's
I had the hours, but it's a flexible schedule.
see. Great. I mean, happy to do it whatever way you want, inshallah.
Quran this way, because Brother Ahmed may not be here the whole time.
Oh, mashallah.
This
Okay.
way we can actually have him give us some tidbits.
Yes, inshallah.
You want to use the boards that?
I might
Yeah, you can use the board. That one is important. This one we can use.
Here, let me give this to you.
I don't think
A couple things.
Yeah. Actually, you can erase this. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Here. Thank you. Of course.
That's okay. We're all learning. Inshallah, inshallah. We'll just spend most of the time I think reviewing, inshallah. But I think we'll learn.
I'm only writing a couple letters.
Okay, we can do. Yeah. I was thinking we can do Surah because that might be a good choice.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Just a review, we had started on principles of pronunciation. We're going to focus on a few letters at a time just so we can kind of really try to perfect those as much as possible. Today we'll be focusing on a few tongue letters in relation to, well, tongue related to incisors. And those letters would be dal, dhal, tha, dha, and dha. So, dal, very simple sound. It's your D, where you're kind of touching the tip of your tongue to the gums behind your central incisors on the upper. Da. We've all learned this sound very early on. Da, dal, dab.
Where's the tongue going?
The tongue goes on the soft tissue immediately behind your central incisors. Da. So, incisors. This is your hard palate here, soft palate here, tongue goes right there. Da. As opposed to these three, where the tongue actually goes in between the top and bottom teeth. You've got the, as in the, we know how to do this one. The, as in thick. The. You notice that you kind of stick your tongue out a little bit further for th than you do for the. The, it's barely the tip sticking out. Th, your tongue goes out a little bit further, yes?
Yes.
Va, you tie in a bit of curvature to the tongue curves upward. Th, tongue is kind of straight. Va, curve the tongue up.
So that it can harmonize. Or it can make
Yes. So everybody say va. One at a time. Va. Va. Tongue between the teeth. Va. Perfect. Wonderful, brother. Exact. Well, dalin is with da. Valimun. Va. Yes, exactly. A lot of native Arab speakers get these two confused in pronunciation. So this is where we think it's valin. It's not valin, it's balin. What's the difference? Va, tongue is between the teeth. Va. Ba, it's more similar to de. Yes.
Also, it sounds like there's like a reverb that and then
Sounds like
like a reverb and like there's like I don't know how to say it, like there's like vibration.
there's more vibration to it. Yes. That curvature creates that little echo. Yes, exactly. Ba is more similar to de. The tongue is a little bit further in front, where immediately where the tooth meets the soft tissue. Ba. And you have an upward curvature of the tongue. So it's not pointing straight up, it's kind of doing something like that. Ba. Ba. Don't stick your tongue between your teeth. Ba. Say da. Ba. Closer. Ba. Not za. Ba. Perfect. Ba. Not va. Ba. Tongue stays inside the mouth, behind the front tooth. Ba. Ba. Not ba. Ba. No lips involved. Just the tongue behind the teeth. Ba. Ba. Keep practicing. It takes a lot.
Like one after another. I want to see the difference.
Like
Yeah.
ba and
No, like ba and da.
va versus ba.
Ba and da.
Va.
Ba.
Actually, ba. It's actually easier to go this way because you're sliding downward. It's a silly sound, but it's actually a good way to do it.
Law has hubs in it, right? So you go, and there's a buzz, right?
Yes.
Whereas with bod, there isn't any
But no,
out. It should be.
there's no air traveling.
Like for instance, with the law, right? You say right? You can vibrate it. But with the bod, there's no vibration. Out, yeah, very direct, right? So, so for instance, I think a really good word is albud, right? Albud is a very hard word to say.
Yeah, because
Because there's a bod.
you're going from that. Yes, you're doing them immediately.
Albud, for instance,
I'll write it
if
down.
you want to really practice, if you say that word, that's a really hard word to say.
Wait, this is sukun. Albud.
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 Yes.
It's actually excellent suggestion. So let's practice once more. De. De. Okay. What's the word? Deen. Yes. Deen. ذلك. ذلك. ثناء. ثاني. Perfect. ظالمون. ظاهر. ظهر. ظهر. Not zuhr. ظهر. ظهر. Yes. ضالين. No, it's mostly an error of the operator. It's an operator. The I mean, I hate to say it, but unfortunately, the Sunnis do have a lot more focus, a lot more concentration on learning the Quran, memorizing the Quran, and proper pronunciation of the Quran. The there's a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of non-Arab Sunnis, and there's a tremendous amount of non-Arab Shias as well. There hasn't been as much of a focus on teaching our non-Arab Shia brothers and sisters proper pronunciation, but we need to focus in on that.
It might be intentional, it might be unintentional. Some of it could be from all the things they face.
I mean, yeah, yeah,
But inshallah, we will focus. This is why we're doing this.
exactly, exactly. I mean, we do this every day when we do our prayers, and yani, who knows? Inshallah, Allah gives us that much more of a reward that we're putting in the effort to recite Allah's words as they were meant to be pronounced.
Because there's even deeper meanings for each letter as to why their position in the mouth is and why they sound the way they sound, or the word to sound the way it does. There's even the deeper esoteric meanings behind it. So inshallah.
I'm not sure that dhalin is actually a word in Arabic. If we say dhalin versus dhalin,
Yeah, it means like so Ron with the va means like to be in the shadows. Yeah, to be. I guess it actually would mean to make something else go into the shadows. It's the act of stop, right?
yeah.
So Ron mean would be like to put something else in the shadows.
So to answer, yes, it does change the meaning.
But not that.
It does. Because
I mean, if you say Zalmin, for instance, it's a very different.
Zalin is entirely different. That's like those who are shaken, or that, yeah, dhalin, or those who humiliate. Dhalin, man yadul. Yeah. Although that's not, I haven't heard that word used ever, but
but that's the thing with Arabic is you can actually think of
yeah,
a lot of words as long as you use the
yep.
as long as they have a 3-letter or 4-letter verb root to it. Okay.
One more time. ضحك. ضحك. Very good.
The other one is Dil, right? That's a hard one to say.
That is a. That's from Surah Sad, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
وخذ بيدك
ضغطا فاضرب به ولا تحنث. Yeah. See, I said it فاضرب. It's supposed to be فاضرب.
No, you mentioned native Arabic, like even now, I don't.
So
Like if you gave me a word, I would not tell you.
it's endemic to a lot of Gulf countries.
Yeah.
On the Gulf, in Iraq, unfortunately, we have this confusion. If you go to the Levant, they're a lot better at differentiating these two. I believe Egypt as well. Western Arabs have a lot easier time with these as opposed to Eastern Arabs. Yeah. It's their dialects. It's yeah. How much?
We'll practice more next week,
Inshallah.
One thing though is so there's actually another way to pronounce the bond, right? And it's actually you put your tongue against your molars on the side. So ba, for instance, like if you look at my tongue, right? Ba, right? It's actually you put your tongue, the lateral aspect of your tongue.
Yeah.
You put it against your molars, and so that's actually how the like original Arabs used to do it.
Really?
They used to, that's the actual makhraj. One side or both sides? So you can do either one. Some people do it both sides, but I just do the left side. Some people do the right side. But you put the tip of the tongue. No, you put the lateral tongue against your molars. Put both top and bottom.
I find that I'm still touching my tip to the to the palate when I do that. Ba.
Actually, your tongue
Ba.
should be like here. Ba.
So you still stick your tongue through the teeth.
Stick your tongue
Da,
through.
da, da.
But I mean, if you want to do it from the alveolar ridge, you can.
Hmm.
But
I see.
Ba. 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 Yeah. Ba.
Da,
You
da,
actually are biting your
da,
tongue
da,
almost. Yeah.
da,
Yeah.
da,
Biting
da,
your whole tongue. So
da.
that's where the word. So that's why abuda.
Abu-
Abuda is
abu-
you can say it. If you
abuda.
say it, if you said it all from the alveolar ridge, you would say aduda.
So much
Right?
difference.
It becomes really hard to say that word if you don't do it from
From
if you do it from the alveolar ridge. You have to do it from the
abuda,
side.
abuda.
So وما كنت متخذ المضلين عضدا, right?
Dina abuda,
That's like the way that you can say it,
abuda.
right? But it's really hard. It's a really
Yeah.
hard buffering.
Subhanallah. Fun fact, I mentioned this 2 weeks ago, but this sound is unique to the Arabic language. There's no, I'm not aware of any other languages that have the ba sound. I'm not aware of that. It's called لغة الضاد for a reason. Yeah. Yeah. Am I out of time? Yes.
Could you go the difference between like the last letter and then the second one? No. The last. Yeah.
These two. So this one, the tongue is fully through the tongue, through the teeth. Not entirely far, about the same distance that you would do for tha, but your tongue has an upward curve. Va. 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 Yes, exactly.
So your tongue, like you said, is basically making a curve.
Making an arch.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's you're pushing your tongue between.
So like
Yep.
that and va.
Va. It'll take practice. It'll definitely take.
So it's kind of like it's called in Arabic. It's called iltibaq. Iltibaq means you like make your mouth almost like an O shape, you know. Va. So look at the difference. That, va, right? You see how the mouth kind of becomes almost an O shape. So va, right? Versus that. When you say that, you almost smile, right? So dhanika, for instance, right? So this is actually a very common mistake. I think a lot of us in the subcontinent, we make people to say Allah, right? They'll make like
To make
instead of
that into
Allah,
a va.
they
Yeah.
make it Allah, you know?
Mm.
So let's say Allah, right? Because they think ayin is supposed to, like ayin is a heavy letter. Even though it's really mutawassat, it's really like in the
No,
middle, right?
no, it's not a istidad, yeah.
It's not confidence now, but because they try so hard to do the ayin,
Yeah.
they make the da also into Allah. So they say
They put extra
Allah,
effort into the.
Allah, right? Instead of the ayin, right? So, but yeah, these things. I think so. If you work on what they call like, there's letters in Arabic that are called mufaqam and muraqqam, right? Mufaqam,
I'm gonna get to those
inshallah,
after we're done with our makharij.
that is going to be so good. Yeah.
That's the plan.
Because Arabic sounds so much sweeter if you when you differentiate the heavy letters from the soft letters. Heavy letters from basically the light letters, right? There's some that you smile almost when you say them, right? Like Idad, you smile when you say that. Idad, right? If you say Allah, right? It doesn't sound as sweet. It sounds wrong, you know. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, when we get to it, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yeah, you know the word azab comes from the word azab. I think
It's
it
to-
means something sweet. Actually, azab it has a meaning of sweet. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no. The word azab, the
The-
root of azab comes from the azab, which means to be sweet. So yeah, so it's actually very interesting when you look at the roots of words. You can see a lot of these very interesting linguistic roots, you know, of words. One word can have so much. Yeah, it means wrath. It means punishment, of course. You know?
It means forced sweetness upon you. So Allah's gonna force His sweetness upon you.
It's-
Truly, if you think about it, right? Because you didn't want to receive the sweetness, you're gonna get forced some sweetness.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
Alphabet in Urdu, I would say dal, dal, sa, zoe, dwal. Are the same in Arabic or different?
So dal, that's your D sound. Dal, there's no Z in it. There's no Z.
Z is different. Yeah.
Dal,
Say,
tha,
this is not
tha, yeah.
say,
Va,
zoe, dwal.
va,
No, zoe, and then is dwal.
da.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
So the da sound's not there in Urdu.
Dwal is in Urdu.
I mean, the sound that we make in Arabic, the dad sound, albuda or dalin,
Spelled with dwal.
the symbol is there,
But the way you're saying it is not
but the
dot.
pronunciation is entirely different. Yes.
You're saying
Yeah.
that, right? You're saying
The phonic sound that we produce is different. Yeah. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
Okay. Inshallah, brothers. So I think we've been practicing Maqam al-Bayat, right? But we'll still go back to Maqam al-Hijaz because I want you guys to get more practice you get, the more exposure, the better you get, right? So how about we just recite a small surah in Maqam al-Hijaz and then we'll go to Maqam al-Bayat again, okay? So we can do Surah Al-Kawthar perhaps. All right. So I'm going to recite it once and then we'll just go around, okay? And just to give you the key for Maqam al-Hijaz. Can anybody want to take a dare and try just do Maqam al-Hijaz off the cuff? Anybody, any brave souls? You don't remember?
I'll try to remember.
Yeah?
Can you give up
All right. So I'll say the salawat and then somebody's going to try, all right? So اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Go ahead. You can just
Do I
say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, yeah, in Maqam al-Hijaz. Best you can. That's not bad. MashaAllah. Very good. All right. So how about this? What I'm going to do is I'm going to recite Surah Al-Kawthar and then we'll just go around and everybody inshallah will recite Surah Al-Kawthar as well in the same tune, okay? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. All right. So you want to go ahead first, Abdullah? That's Hijaz, right?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر.
That was really good. MashaAllah. Very nice. All right. Brother Jamal, you want to do it?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر.
MashaAllah. Very nice. Very nice. Brother Muhammad?
Most of it was pretty good.
Yeah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر.
Very nice, mashallah.
So the hijaz, like Maqam,
Yeah.
like you're stressing what aspect of it?
إنا أعطيناك الكوثر. It's like That's how the yep. It's almost like it has almost a you go up very high in the beginning and then you kind of come down slowly, right? But it's a pretty high maqam. It requires a little bit of a higher pitch. So if you're very low, if you have a very low pitched voice, it's hard to do this maqam, right? But do you want to try?
Just try
Yeah.
and see what happens because it'll take a lot of practice. Once
Yeah.
you hear the other ones, then you'll be like, oh yeah, now I know what's going on.
I promise I won't be good though.
You'll be all right.
That's
man.
okay. That's all right.
You won't be the worst. Don't worry.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر.
That was actually really good.
Really good.
Ahsant.
You got it.
Mashallah. Very
You
nice.
heard those for the torch sliding hijaz? Yeah.
You're way better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys
like,
are
actually.
Yeah,
I was gonna
yeah.
say, the worst
You're
person is
good.
actually the one who's not here.
Mashallah, mashallah.
Because that's zero.
Oh yeah.
All right. Brother Ahmed?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر.
Ahsant. Very nice.
أعوذ بالله من شر الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر.
Very nice. Mashallah. Very good. All right. So, do you guys want to try like more like what we call mujawwad, like very slow and like kind of going into higher pitches, or do you want to move to bayat?
Let's do another short surah with hijaz, just so that Brother Ali's can actually practice hijaz one more time.
Okay, sure.
Maybe the next one.
How about Surah Al-Asr? Is that good? Okay.
What's the surah, the one about the fig?
What?
Teen.
That's Surah Teen? You want to do Teen? Whatever you guys think, inshallah. We can do Teen.
9 seconds.
All right. So again, the pattern is like this. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Right? So I'm going to go a little bit higher in this surah, okay? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. والتين والزيتون وطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون فما يكذبك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والتين والزيتون وطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون فما يكذبك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين.
Very nice. Ahsant.
You sure I'm not lining
No.
up bayats here?
You're doing great. You're
Alright,
doing great,
'cause
mashallah.
I keep having this worry.
No. That was really good. That was a really good Hijaz, mashallah.
Worried about that.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والتين والزيتون والطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلق الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناهم
أسفل
سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون فما يكذبوك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين.
Mashallah. Very
I
nice.
like-
Yeah,
even
you
despite-
actually got the Hijaz very well
even
though.
despite
Yeah.
like some of the errors, you kept
Yeah.
the tone. You
Kept the tone,
which
which
is really
is very-
beautiful. mashallah.
Yeah.
That's more. I think I would argue that's the harder part.
Yeah, it requires a good voice. Yeah.
Yeah, mashallah. You
Yeah.
did it. That was amazing.
Mashallah.
As a
Very nice.
non-Arabic speaker, man, you're doing
Really good.
great.
You're doing great. Yeah. All right, brother Muhammad.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والتين والزيتون والطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون فما يكذبك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين.
Ahsant. Mashallah. Very nice.
I feel like I was drifting into the
No. You did a really good Hijaz actually.
I
Yeah.
do wonder if verse 6 forces you into that. I don't know if it's because of its length or because of its the way it's structured, but I felt like I was going into that.
We'll do a Bayat one inshallah afterwards.
What do you mean by that?
It's another
There,
show.
this is another tune. We're gonna do it after
Find
this
out.
one.
There's like 7 other choices.
Oh, yeah.
Is there?
We're still doing hijab, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والتين وال oh wow okay. والتين والزيتون
Mhm.
وطور سينين وهذا البلد الآمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون فما يكذبوك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكام الحكيمين.
Mashallah.
Sorry to put you in an uncomfortable spot.
Yeah. No, mashallah. No. You're doing great though, mashallah.
But you
Ahsant,
maintain the
yeah.
tone. I could hear the tone in
Yeah.
the back, even despite like this. But he had the tone, which is
MashaAllah. Ahsant.
Try.
Yeah. Alright, Brother Ahmed.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والتين والزيتون وطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون فما يكذبك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين.
Ahsant. Very nice. So you see how you have to go a little bit higher than your vocal range, right? You have to go a little bit higher for the pitch for Hijaz. But mashallah, you did very well.
Some of the meds we have
Ahsant.
to like make like to purify our like
Yeah.
voices because we're not used to like the we're not used to that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It needs some training. At least for me, like I don't go into those ranges. And
Yeah. Mashallah.
You guys must be trained by your father.
No. Well, not in Maqams at least.
Actually, I'm gonna be honest. This is the first time I've ever read the surah at that pitch.
Mashallah.
Really?
Yeah.
Mashallah. Yeah. Mashallah. Mashallah.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay.
It's your turn. Yeah.
أعوذ بالله من شر الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والتين والزيتون وطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون فما يكذبك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين.
Ahsant. Mashallah. So at the end you went a little bit into Bayat, but mashallah, it was very nice. Mashallah, it was very
That's always
yeah.
hitting me. It's 'cause
Yeah.
I'm Arabic, I don't know why.
Mashallah.
Is that like when you're about to end the eye, like you bring your tone down?
Yes, that's Bayat. So there's something called Bayati Shuri, right? So Bayati Shuri, you start in Hijaz and then you end in Bayat, right? So we'll go through that too, inshallah.
You want to do Surah Al-Hamd for Bayat?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe
You wanna do
Surah Al-Qadr, just right
Oh,
there.
Yeah, I think that's a great
It was
choice.
looking at me, I don't know.
So let's do Bayat, right? And then I'll show you Shuri for a second, just so you can see.
You do salawat.
Yeah. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
There's no peak. There's no beginning peak. It's all like just little small.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm doing a qara. You could go high if you want in Bayat. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Right? So yeah, so it does have like you can go very high pitch with bayat, but then you come down, right? So, but bayat has that certain pattern. It's always it's kind of it has a very measured tune, and the thing about it is it's very versatile. It's a very versatile maqam. If you can read in this maqam, you can recite like you can just recite in bayat, and people will be like, wow, this is an expert reciter, mashallah, you know. You could just recite in this one maqam and it's sufficient. So it's very good maqam to know. And it's easy because it's low pitch, right? So everybody who starts Quran, they start with this Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, right? That's bayat.
Versus Hijaz.
Yeah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Right? You see the difference?
It involves more emotion.
Yeah.
The beginning peak is gone. Bismillahir-Rahmanir versus
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. So yeah, so Bayat is it's more of a, it's like, it conveys power. It's like it's a very powerful maqam, right? Whereas Hijaz is like an outpouring of emotion. That's how I think about it, you know? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, right? That's Hijaz, right? Whereas Bayat, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, right? You see the difference? So I'm gonna read Surah Al-Qadr, and then if you guys want, you can try, right? Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. Right? So let me just read it a little faster. So you got,
Yeah, please.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. Right? So that's Bayat. You guys want to try? So that's Bayat, right?
Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim.
أحسنت.
إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. I'm not sure.
That was good. Yeah, no, that was actually a pretty good bayat. Bayat comes naturally, actually, to a lot of people.
It's almost like a
Yeah.
default. I
Yeah.
feel like it's like a default versus me trying to do something else.
Yes, yeah. But it's just refining that tune a little bit more. But you got it. You actually already have it, but it's just refining it more. It's like kind of, it's like almost like you have a stone and you keep polishing it, right? سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. Right?
سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر.
That's better. MashaAllah. Ahsant. Yeah. All right. Jamal, you want to do it? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام
أحسنت ما شاء الله.
I'll try. Let me know if I go into a different mood.
You can ask for the
yeah,
tone if you want. Like,
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر.
أحسنت. Very nice. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
أحسنت.
إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر.
أحسنت ما شاء الله. Very nice.
Yeah. Even though you feel like it's uncomfortable, but you got it.
Yeah, it just feels like I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah.
No, you're doing it right. It's just getting the more
It
you
doesn't feel like
so
it
the
sounds
so the difference is, so what you have to do is you have to get your vocal range good, right? Right? If you can do that, then your vocal range becomes more. The more you practice that, the better your vocal range will get, and you'll be able to. Your voice will sound better and better and better, right?
more defined.
سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر, right? So you see how like now you can, if you the more in practice you get, your voice becomes more granular, right? So you can, like, you're not jumping from like a high pitch to a low pitch very quickly. It's what we call nashaz. So nashaz is like when there's a little bit of disconsonance in your voice, right? So but as you keep practicing, your voice becomes more granular. You can go those slight pitches up, slight pitches down, right? And then your voice sounds much more smooth when you recite, right? But you got to keep reading. You got to keep practicing. You already know the tune, but it's like now we're refining it and keep reading it until eventually you learn how to recite it really, really smooth, right?
I saw a shape on YouTube and they were talking about like how it's the rate, like how people have like do re mi. It's
Yeah.
like the rate do re.
Yeah, right.
So, but isn't there like also like a really high bayat?
Yeah, there is a very high bayat. You can do a very high. We can. Yeah.
The long one was kind of high pitch.
Yeah, I'll show you. Let's go around and finish, and then we can do some things.
Like, you feel like you're not doing much. That's why it kind of feels awkward because you're not really doing much with, like, like going
So I'll show you some variations of bayats at the end, but because bayat is you can do a slow, just straightforward. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. You can just read like that, right? It's pretty plain, but then there's a lot of adornments you can add onto bayat, right? Very easy.
I feel like it's just like you said, it's like almost having like something, a canvas, and you're like putting things on it versus something's already drawn and you're like trying to follow it.
All right, brother Ahmed. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Nice, yeah.
إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر.
أحسنت. Very nice. Yeah. No. You did it straight bayat. You did it straight bayat. MashaAllah. Yeah. سلام هي حتى مطلع
Maybe we
الفجر.
should do this one Hijaz next time. We'll see what that feels like. Seriously.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر.
Ahsan. Well, actually, so let me read it, and so I can sort of orient you, so then you can recite it even better, inshallah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر. You want to try?
Yeah. I feel like I
إنا
don't see a big difference between that and Hijaz.
Okay,
You feel
so
like
so let me read it both. So Hijaz, إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر. Right, that's Hijaz.
I think that first ayah forces you maybe
Yeah.
into Hijaz because the med is all the way in the beginning. So,
Yeah,
so you get
yeah.
forced into Hijaz. But you can stay in Bayat if you just
So,
extend it.
إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر. Right?
إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر
أحسنت.
وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر ليلة القدر خير من ألف شهر تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر.
Ahsant. Yeah, that was good. That was much better. Yeah. MashaAllah. Ahsant. All right. So,
You guys want to do Hijaz and see the difference?
You guys want to move to maybe to a short surah?
yeah. You guys want to do a shorter surah?
Back to surah till Khlas, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
No,
So
meds and
you want to do what, Maqam? Both Hijaz
yeah,
and
we should do
Bayat?
both just so we can like know the difference.
Okay.
So we can figure out the differences.
So we'll do Bayat first since we're on that, and then we'll switch to Hijaz. Okay?
Just connect the ayahs if you want a longer med.
Yeah. So we're just doing Ikhlas. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Right? So that's Bayat. You want to try? Or I show you Hijaz. So you want to see the difference.
Yeah, let's see this.
So again, so let me read the Basmala on both, right? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. That's Bayat, right? Hijaz. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. You see the difference? Okay. So there's a very big difference between the two. But you can so Bayat and Hijaz, you can fuse them too. I'll show you how to do that as well. But just to give you a flavor of what Hijaz sounds like, right? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Right? You see the difference? وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. That's Bayat, right? وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. That's Hijaz. You see the difference?
No, it's hard.
Okay. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Hijaz has this like you push out and then you come back. You push out, you come back. It's kind of like a almost like circular. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Right? It's like that, right? Whereas Bayat is more like this. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Right? So Bayat has a different sort of pattern to it. You guys want to try?
Let's try. Again, this surah doesn't have much meds, so it's kind of hard to.
You want to switch to a different?
No. Let's make it. Difficulty means challenging. Challenging means learning.
There you go, man.
Fine.
I like
So which one should I do? I guess.
So let me just read this in a maqam. It's called Maqam Bayati Shuri, right? So Bayati Shuri is you go into Hijaz. So the high part of it is the high pitch is Hijaz and the low pitch is Bayat, right? So it goes like this. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Right? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. You guys see it? قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Right? So it starts high and then it goes low. Allahu Samad. لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Right? So that you go high into Hijaz and then the ending is into Bayat. Do you see that? لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. It's so that's a fusion maqam, right? So that's when you do basically intiqal, or you go from Hijaz in the high into Bayat in the low, right? So that's a very that's one type of way that you can use these maqams together, right? And so some people, what they'll do is they'll recite Bayat, they'll recite low Bayat, and then they'll suddenly go into Bayati Shuri, right? So like this. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. قل يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد ولا أنا عابد ما عبدتم ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد لكم دينكم ولي دين. Right? So you see how we went from Bayat, we went high into Hijaz and we ended in Hijaz, right? So that's how you can fuse these maqams, right? You can go from one into the next. But you see how it all was kind of seamless? It kind of, you sort of, but there is a very distinct difference, the way I started and the way I ended. You guys notice that? So, all right, so anyways, you guys want to try to recite Surah Ikhlas? How about Surah Ikhlas in Maqam Bayat? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Go ahead.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد.
So you're going into Hijaz now. I screwed you up.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. قل هو الله أحد.
قل هو الله أحد.
قل هو الله أحد.
Better.
الله الصمد.
لم يلد ولم يولد. لم يلد ولم يولد. Right?
لم يلد ولم يولد
ولم يكن
ولم يولد
ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Right?
Alright, let's do Hijaz again.
You want to try it in Hijaz? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد.
Okay. Jamal, you can choose whichever one you want to do.
I want to try Bayat Shuri.
You want to try Bayat Shuri? Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. You want to try that?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد.
Very nice, mashallah. Very nice, yeah.
Especially the best one, he did a really good job.
Yeah.
With
Yeah, he actually did really good, mashallah. All right. Yeah.
Well, I noticed when you, and this is going to be unrelated, when you fuse the two ayahs together, you said ahadun, which I've heard everybody do that.
Yeah.
With the people that know.
Mm-hmm.
But the noon of the tanween is set. My impression was
The noon of the tanween? Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
My impression was the only way to pick up the name of Allah was preceded by a kasra.
Yes. Yeah.
Why do we go into kasra?
I always hear it as well too. I've always wondered this too, like because I always hear just like
because I think because of that hamzatun wasl, right? So for instance, I'll give you another example. Bal, the word bal, right? So how do you say that? Balillahu mawlakum, for instance. You say balillahu mawlakum, right? You don't say balillahu. Balillahu would be wrong, right? So because of the kasra that comes before Allah, it makes it muraqqab. It makes it light. That Allah is pronounced as a light la, right? So it only becomes heavy. You only say Allah when there's a fatha or a dhamma before, right? So in this case, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ إِلَّا. So it became a kasra. So because of that kasra makes it Allah muraqqaq, right?
The kasra is on, so we assume this is, the kasra is on Allah. It's a kasra on the
Yeah, where's the kasra?
So the kasra is between the word ahadun and Allah, right?
So that hamza wasl is actually a maksura.
So think about it like the word bal, right? Bal has a sukoon on the lam, right? But if you had bal Allah, you had the word bal and you had Allah next to it. Allah, you can't just say Allah, right? Because it's a hamzatun wasl in the front, right? So it has to be connected to something before it. So it becomes balillahu, right?
So that's the default,
for instance, right?
The sukoon becomes a kasra with the hamza.
Yes. With the hamzatun wasl, it's always that as a default, right? Of course.
So the question he was asking is, why do you say قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ versus قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ?
Yeah.
أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ versus أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ. There's some rules involved. How to connect letters. But
Yeah.
How the letter sounds heavy versus light. So أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ. So it's a light letter, but we were confused about the ruling. Why is that light letter? Because if you look at it superficially, it looks like it should be a heavy rule, but it's a light rule. Sorry, we'll get to that, inshallah.
Ahsant.
Can you do the first
Oh yeah.
for Bayat?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد.
Very nice.
It was a little,
Brother
It's
Sarosh?
hard. It's hard to play around with this.
Yeah.
Because
No, no, it's hard, but the more you practice, the better you'll get. So I think one thing you want to practice this, it's just 3 sounds. All right. If you can do that reliably, you can do bayat, right? Right. That's maqam bayat's kind of. If you break it down to 4 sounds, that's what it is, and you just keep repeating that. That's bayat, right? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Right? That's bayat. You want to try, Sarosh?
Yeah.
Okay.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد.
Good. MashaAllah. All right, Brother Ahmed.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد.
Ahsant. Very nice.
Did I still get it right on the 3rd ayah?
Yeah.
I think you got this one.
لم يلد ولم يولد. Right? ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Right? So you want to try, Brother Muhammad?
I'm gonna do Hijaz now.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, your choice.
I don't know if it's the right surah to do Hijaz on.
You got well. They're all surahs. We gotta do it.
Yeah.
It's hard. You gotta do it.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد.
Very nice. Yeah, that was a pretty good hijaz, mashallah.
What would be the tones? Just like for bayat. What would be the one for hijaz if you were?
Right? That's hijaz, right? Bayat. Right? You see the difference?
Bayat is like it starts slow. Hijaz is
That's bayat.
It's also 3 versus 4 tones.
Yeah.
As well.
Right. So bayat, you can even do adhan in bayat. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Right? That's bayat. Yeah.
I forgot my whole tune, everything, as soon as I got up there.
That's the biggest challenge.
You should have like a recording just to hear it before you go in.
No, I mean, I think, yeah, so the more you train your voice, right, and you do these vocal ranges, like, you'll get better and better. Your voice will become more and more refined, right? But, I mean, I think the Hijaz is the one that everybody does, right? But Bayat, some people like Bayati Adhan, right? And so you can also do Adhan and Bayat. I think that, practicing Adhan is actually a really good way to get really good at the maqam, because you have to go into the high pitches, right? And you have to experiment with your voice. You have to go, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, right? So by going up and down like that with your voice, you really like train your voice to be able to do those pitches properly, right? Oh, is he? Okay.
So, tomorrow, if he's here tomorrow, let him do it then.
Yeah.
He heard the hadith today, mashallah. He knows what to do.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Very nice. Yeah. So inshallah, we'll keep practicing, guys. Inshallah. I think this is hopefully helpful. You guys are enjoying it.
Really helpful.
Alhamdulillah.
Very appreciative. I think it also gives at least me confidence too, like when you recite.
Most definitely. Yeah.
And you know, even during Surah Al-Qadr, you can see the feelings of the surah too, like while you're reciting. So it's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean it really that's you're supposed to channel your emotions through the surah, you know? Eventually when you read so much it becomes second nature to you. You can just go into the maqams, you know, without necessarily even thinking about it per se, you know? Ahsant. Yeah? All right. Yeah, he's got a great voice, mashallah.
In front of Mama.
Would you like
Would you do it now or for like,
It's up to you.
you know, like 50 people?
Or not?
Or not,
No,
right?
no, no. So you can have some confidence. You can have some confidence. Do you want to do it with a mic or yeah? You want it with a mic?
Inshallah. We'll see you, inshallah.
Can I also practice after him, if you guys don't mind?
Yeah, of
I
course.
want you to rate me.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أشهد أن علي ولي الله.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أشهد أن وفي رسول الله.
Yeah.
If you want to repeat the same thing, or if you want to say Ashhadu anna Aliyan Hujjatullah, up to you.
أشهد أن علي أشهد أن علي حجة الله.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. حي على الخير لمن. حي على الخير لمن.
So what I would say is it's not al khair al-amal, it's just khair al-amal.
Oh.
So the al is on the amal, not on khair. So if you want to correct that now, so that inshallah when you do it in the future, you don't have to. Hasan.
So you should say Hayya ala khayril amal.
حي على خير الأمل.
Ahsan.
Good job.
حي على خير الأمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله.
MashaAllah, very nice. MashaAllah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa
I don't know
ali.
what maqam it was, but it was actually beautiful. I thought
Yeah.
it was very nice.
It was maqam. It was actually maqam kurd. He reads in maqam kurd. Yeah. So So very good, mashallah. Jamal, the only thing, so when you say ashhadu anna, you don't say aliyun waliyullah, say aliyan. Ashhadu anna aliyan waliyullah. Can you say that?
Let's actually write these things down for today.
No, that's okay. That's all right. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's about your intention, and it's about don't worry what people say. Just focus on doing the best you can. You know. Yeah. All right, brother Muhammad, do you want to do it?
Yeah, I'll go. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أشهد أن محمد رسول الله
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أشهد أن عليا ولي الله
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أشهد أن عليا وأولاد المعصومين حجج الله
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
حي على الصلاة حي
That's
على
good.
Anything else that you
الصلاة
think?
حي على
that was it, yeah.
الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أحسنت. Very nice. MashaAllah.
I probably had like 6 different
No.
maqams in there.
No, you actually stayed pretty consistent with Hijaz, actually.
I
Yeah.
tried to,
Yeah. Yeah.
but like the Iraqi lahan is like it's
Yeah.
like grabbing me, but I just have to say book.
That's okay.
Do you guys remember when you were small?
Yes,
You
mashallah.
used to say very good
Yeah,
words,
I'm old now, man. I sound like
Yeah.
He still recites very good duha. He just
Why
inshallah
you
he's
don't
encouraged. Inshallah on Sunday
Yeah.
he will.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah.
Sunday he will.
Inshallah.
This is how
Inshallah.
I'm moked, and
Inshallah.
Do you
Inshallah.
want to do 10 minutes of just a brief
Yes,
thing?
inshallah.
Just so that we don't
Of course.
lose the track. Just 10 minutes, inshallah. Just so that we learn something. Inshallah. Especially this aspect of things, because I think some of us may have missed this last week, so I think it was actually a very good thing to actually go over again, or at least go over one aspect or whatever you
Okay.
like.
Yeah, sure. Inshallah.
You have the mic on you?
Yes. I don't know if it's on. Is it on? Okay. Okay, so we'll keep it brief, inshallah, just focused on on some key things. So we were talking about the fact that, we said that Allah is not material, right? Allah is not physical. He doesn't have body parts. He doesn't have dimensions. He doesn't have emotions. Like Allah doesn't get upset, and and happy, right? He doesn't have all these types of emotions, right? So we talked about all these things. We talked about the fact Allah doesn't forget, right? He doesn't mock. He doesn't do these things. These are all human traits, right? These are some people, they anthropomorphize God, or they think that God is like a human being, right? That he's angry at one moment, then he's happy, then he's sad, right? And he's sitting on a throne, and he's got his legs stretched out on his kursi, and he's like governing the universe, right? And he's got eyes and ears, and he's got hands, right? So some people, they imagine Allah like this, but we said that this is far off from the actual tawheed taught to us by Imam Ali alayhi salam and Badi Ahlul Bayt, right? That Allah is not, and we said also logically, philosophically, the necessary existent, right? The necessary existent, remember, you guys remember that term, the necessary existent, right? Basically a being that has no contingencies, that has no dependencies on anything, right? He is wajib al-wujud, right? He has no, he doesn't require anything to materialize in order for him to be, right? Remember we said that everything else in the universe, all of us, for instance, in order for us to exist, there's so many other conditions that have to be met in order for us to actually come into being, right? For instance, there has to be an earth, there has to be, food, there has to be, an earth that is actually at the right temperature. There has to be our parents, right? They have to have, gotten married, for instance. All of these things are requirements in order for us to come to be, for instance, right? So every creature, everything in this universe has conditions that are required in order for it to materialize. But we said the wajib al-wujud, Allah does not have any conditions. There's no contingencies, no dependencies that Allah needs to be, right? So Allah just is, right? And we said that there has to be a being like that, because otherwise the universe would not come to be, right? The whole existence would not come to be. If everything was contingent, everything is saying, oh, I'm not going to start until XYZ. It's like a whole bunch of people on a line, right? In the Olympics, right? They're standing, they're about to go on a race. They're all standing there at the start line. And every single one of them says, I'm not going to take the first step until the person next to me takes his first step. Will the race ever start? The race will never start, right? We said there has to be someone who's the first mover, right? Brother Muhammad had used this term, the first mover, individual who says, I don't care what anybody else is doing, I'm going to be the one who takes the first step. We said in the same way, there has to be an existence, a being that exists, that is not dependent, doesn't need any dependencies or contingencies. And we said that is Allah, right? We said that is the necessary existence.
It's not like cause, because causes need something to cause them.
Right. So cause is a little bit of a faulty term, because people, especially nowadays, a lot of atheists, they say causality can be reversed. And when you go into the quantum realm, the causes can precede the effects, or the effects can precede the causes. Yes. So they say causality is not necessarily something that is grounded, but when you base your whole argument on what we call contingency, that in order for something to exist, certain conditions have to be met, right? The only being that does not require any conditions is Allah, right? Doesn't need any conditions. All conditions are dependent on Him, but He's not dependent on any conditions, right? So that's what we said was a necessary existence. Now,
for these terms, you said that God doesn't have eyes, He
yeah,
doesn't have hearing, He doesn't get angry, He doesn't forget, but these are all terms from the Quran.
yeah. So all of these words that I've written, they all come in the Quran, right? So they're called al-sifat al-khabariyah. Al-sifat al-khabariyah are terms, or basically attributes, that are mentioned in the Quran that are ascribed to Allah, right? But each one of these attributes, when you look in the Quran, Allah uses these terms to describe Himself. But we just said Allah doesn't have hands. He doesn't have a face. He doesn't have arms and legs, right? He doesn't have these things. So how can we justify these verses? How do we understand these verses?
Can we blame those people that believe that stuff, right?
Yeah. Remember we said there were 4 viewpoints. The viewpoint of one group is called the Mujassima. They believe that Allah actually is anthropomorphized, that He actually has these things, that he's sitting on a throne. He actually has hands and legs and eyes and ears, but they actually believe this, right? And they say this is the belief of the original Salaf, the original, some of the Wahhabis, in particular the Salafis, as they call themselves, they say this is the belief of the original Salaf al-Salih. They used to believe this about Allah. And this is what we believe. And this is what the hadith show. That Allah is a curly-eyed boy, a curly-haired boy, and he comes down from the seventh heaven down to the fourth heaven, on every Jama'ah. This is what they believe, right? So there's a group that actually believes that. And they use these verses, the same verses in the Quran, right? Second group says, well, yes, he does have these body parts because Allah has said he has Yadullah, right? Aynullah, that Allah has a hand, that Allah has an eye. He's used these terms in the Quran. So he must have them. But we can't understand what they are. That what they call bila kayf. We can't ask, how is that? How does Allah have a hand? How does Allah have eyes? Remember? So we talked about this group of individuals. And this is actually the majority opinion of Sunnis. Balkafa. Yeah, this doctrine is known as Balkafa. What's that?
They don't understand metaphor.
Yeah. Yeah. So they believe, they say that if Allah wanted to use a metaphor, he would have used it in the Quran. But Allah said he has a hand. He said he has a face. So he must have them, right? And we have no right to question, right?
Quran says Allah helped you in Rawaha with 3,000 angels or 5,000 angels, 3,000 angels, and there were 1,000 kuffar. The 3,000 angels are good enough to wipe out whole kuffar, whole army of kuffar.
Yeah.
But only 73 kuffar were killed. Out of 73, 37 killed by Imam Mizid.
Right.
So this metaphor is if Allah helped them with the angels, so they were those angels. If they have to take Quran on face value, everything what it says, they have to take it. So they were the angels. They could not kill full army, 73 kuffar.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a good point. The Quran uses metaphors actually a lot, So for them to say that there's no metaphors in the Quran or that there's no figurative language, it's a big claim, right?
It tells you it's using it.
Yeah. Yeah. That Allah strikes a similitude, right? So there's many examples in the Quran. But there are individuals who say, like, look, Allah he could have said, he didn't have to say that Allah ascended or Allah, did istiwa on the arsh, that Allah, settled on the throne. Allah didn't have to say that. This type of Allah mounting the throne, this type of phraseology, it must mean that there's actually an arsh and Allah is actually getting on the throne. Otherwise, why would Allah say that, right? So they say, oh, you guys, you're trying to philosophize and mystify it and make it a figure of speech. But so, yeah, yeah, yeah.
But they'll tell you no.
Yeah, it's not something.
No, but they tell you, okay, you have this verse, but we have this verse. So
Which verse?
Looking at it's his Lord.
Yeah, so there's a verse of the Quran that says that there will be certain faces on the Day of Judgment, they will be looking at their Lord. Ila rabbiha nadira, right?
That's their argument. That's the argument they'll use.
In the next slide.
Yes, in the hereafter. So what the Sunni position is that this lan tarani only applies to this world, but in the hereafter we will see Allah. Allah has a form, but we just cannot see him in this world. This is the majority Ash'ari view. Yeah.
Is absolute. I don't know. That might have some.
To you it is absolute, but to other people who argue these points, they tell you that no, this one's also absolute. So how can you, so some of them stop, and some of them say barakabat. So they say, he has eyes, but we don't know how, but he has eyes, so we stop at thinking about how he has eyes. That's the second group.
I have to look at that verse and see the.
Yeah, and we talked about that verse of lan tarani, that they argue that, look, why is Musa asking Allah to show that, oh Allah, show me yourself? Is Prophet Musa, na'udhu billah, jahil? Is he asking Allah when why would Prophet Musa ask Allah that show me yourself if Allah cannot be seen? Are you saying this is a prophet of Allah? If he's supposed to be ma'soom, does he not know that Allah cannot be seen? So him asking proves that he can be seen. This is the argument they make, right? Yes, this is the argument that Imam al-Ridha alayhi salam, he replied to Ma'mun because Ma'mun asked him this question. Imam al-Ridha said, no, it's because he was doing itmam al-hujjah on his qawm, Yes. But you see how they look at the same verse and they can derive the exact opposite conclusion because they look at it in a completely incorrect way, you know. So they say this lan tarani, they say this lan applies only for this world, that you will not see me in this world, but in the hereafter you can see. Yeah. No. Lan in Arabic means that you will not. You will not. You will not. Yeah. Sometimes lan it depends on the context. Lan you can say lan, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that in every single context. It can still be a contextual thing. In this certain context, you will not see me. No. It can certainly have a connotation of being in this specific context and in the context of this world, you will not see me. So there is a way that they can interpret it that way, but the thing is the Quran goes against it because the Quran says لا تدركه الأبصار وهو يدرك الأبصار. His eyes cannot see Allah. They cannot perceive a God, right? Or they cannot perceive Allah. And so we take these verses of the Quran that say looking to your Lord, right? Looking to their Lord, faces will be looking to their Lord. This is ila thawabi rabbiha nadhira, right? That the implication there is that they will be looking at the rewards of their Lord, right? They will be anticipating the rewards and the basically the recompense from Allah for the good things that they had done. It's not that they will be seeing Allah, that they will actually be looking at Allah, but they will be longing towards Allah to grant them the goodness, the thawab for what they have done, right?
You go deeper too as to when Allah uses nazar, when Allah uses basar, when Allah uses
Yeah.
Rawaha, ru'ya.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, can you write down the four groups? Because I think just right next to it, you want to write down the first one is Mujassima, the second one is Bayat.
Oh yeah.
Just so we can have like an outline of that. One of our brothers is asking, what do we think? So we're gonna get there, inshallah.
Mujassima.
So the first ones are the anthropomorphizers.
Mujassima, Mubalkifa.
The second group are the bila kayf. We don't know how. The second group is the don't know how.
So these are the Mubattila. And then you have the Mu'awwila.
These are coming right now.
Right? So you have these four groups. So Mubattila are those individuals who say, look, it's not we don't know. Allah said these things, but why is it even important to ask, does Allah have a hand? Does Allah just wants you to believe in Him? He just wants you to do righteous deeds. Why question all these terms and stuff? We just leave it. We say Allah is the one who knows. You know?
This is not the part of Iman to understand Allah as a body or not, right? Am I right or wrong? It is not part of Iman.
So you have, I think he's getting at, can you know that Allah? Can you actually have ma'rifat of Allah completely?
You cannot have full knowledge of Allah, of course. But there are certain things that we say that you must negate, right? There's what we call what is it? We have sifat thubutiyya, right? And we have sifat salbiyya, right? Sifat salbiyya are those things that Allah cannot have. To say that Allah has a body or say that I don't know if Allah has a body, right? Those things they're both wrong, right? Allah does not have a body because like we said, from a philosophical standpoint and from the Ahlul Bayt have told us that there's no physicality to Allah. Your aqidah is extremely important, you know. If you had one of the reasons why this is so important, because you know what the Mujassima did, the people who would anthropomorphize God, they would say that, look, you know, if Allah has hands and He has legs, and then it's just one step away from saying that Allah can commit sins, Allah can forget, Allah can do this, Allah can do that. Then they say, oh, what's the big deal? If we commit a sin, Allah also can commit sins. He has hands, He has legs, He has a brain, He can forget.
So this is the whole package you have to take.
Yes, you have to think about how all the implications of anthropomorphizing Allah. When you anthropomorphize or say that Allah is physical, it creates, this is exactly what the Banu Umayyah were trying to do. Banu Umayyah, they tried to anthropomorphize Allah and say that Allah had a body in order that they could then hide the evil that they were doing by that sort of excuse that, oh, well, Allah himself, he's descending, he's coming down from the seventh heaven to the fourth heaven, and he's a shab amrad, he's a curly-haired boy. This is the form that Allah likes to take. So if we like curly-haired boys, this is something that was very common in that time. Actually, unfortunately, this trait. Say Allah is the one who takes this form. So if we like young boys who have this form, what's the problem, right?
Allah's desire.
Yes.
That is very
It creates a whole bunch of problems, right? So this is why.
To answer your question, is Aqidah important, at least in some aspect of knowing some aspects of Allah? You will never know all of Allah.
It has to be whole package.
Yes. So no, it is very important. And the other reason why it's not, they're wrong, these mubattila, these individuals who say none of this is important, is they're basically saying that Allah, first off, Allah has told us in the Quran that He has that He has a hand, that He has eyes. If these things were not important, why would Allah even mention it in the Quran? So you're basically so many verses that say ثُمَّ اسْتَوَى عَلَى الْعَرْشِ, that Allah then mounted the throne. You're saying this verse, it's not relevant. You're throwing out so many verses of the Quran. You're saying, yeah, okay, but Allah's not going to test us on this. Allah's not going to test us on that. Well, then why did He put it in the Quran? If He doesn't think that you should know these things, right? If He doesn't want you to do tadabbur and actually understand what He's trying to say, why did He put it in the Quran, right? So, but these individuals, by doing so, they're saying that Allah put things in the Quran that are not important. They're saying that there are so many verses of the Quran that have no relevance to us, right? So that is a big blasphemy against Allah, because you're questioning Allah's hikmah then. You're questioning, well, why would Allah put these verses if they're not important, right?
Allah says, I'm Hakim.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're saying that Allah put these things to confuse you and that they're not relevant? You're saying that Allah just put these as confounders? That's a huge problem with these mubattila, right? So we Shia, we're part of a group called Mu'awwila, and the Mu'tazilis are also part of this group. The Mu'tazilis, the Mu'awwila are this is another group of individuals. So these are the individuals who take these terms in the Quran in a metaphorical way, right? So this is the Mu'awwila, are those who look at what we call as-sifat al-khabariyah, the terms that Allah uses in the Quran to describe Himself, right? They take these terms and they look at them in a metaphorical way. Yes. We Shia Imamis, we are part of this group.
These are four theological ways of thinking about.
Among Shia.
No, amongst Muslims in general.
Actually,
The last one is among Shia.
Yes, the last one is the view of the Shias.
You can even argue this amongst humanity, really. But there's four ways of thinking theologically about the essence of Allah. These are the main four ways.
So
Yes.
we are talking about the last one right now.
Yes, so the Mu'awwila is the view of the Shias,
Some Sunnis also.
that we do ta'weel of these verses of the Quran, meaning that we take them metaphorically, right? So we say, for instance, when Allah says wajh, right? كُلُّ شَيْءٍ هَالِكٌ إِلَّا وَجْهَهُ, or كُلُّ مَنْ عَلَيْهَا فَانٍ وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبِّكَ, right? When Allah says that everything will perish and the face of your Lord will remain, right? This face of your Lord, if you literally translate it, means face, right? So people will say, okay, well, like we said, these other groups, they say, oh, Allah must have a face then, right? But what did the Shia say? They say, well, there's two possibilities of the word wajh. One is that it's literal, and the other is that it's metaphorical. And we know literal, it's impossible, because Allah doesn't have a body part. He doesn't have physical nature. So we must take the metaphorical signification of this word. We must understand this word in a metaphorical sense. So wajh has the meaning of basically those things that take you towards Allah, those things that are with Allah, that persist with Allah, right? So wajhullah has the meaning of, some of our commentators have said it's actually Zatullah, right? Zatullah, the essence of Allah is wajh, right? The term wajh is a kinaya, or it's a basically figurative language to refer to the that of Allah. That Allah's that is the only thing that persists, right?
Book of my father's poetry. I gave you my the book of my father
I don't
poetry.
think so. No.
Poetry. That is an old book, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in that book, my father wrote the Vajra means it is the Ilmul Abdar, Abdar,
Yeah.
Abdar or Abdar, Ilmul Abdar. So
Mhm.
there are 14 numbers.
Yeah.
So that's what my father wrote in that one. I will translate it, I'll read it. So
Mashallah.
the Vajra means those 14
Infallibles, right?
will be there.
Yeah. I mean, so wajh, right? Uh, this word wajh has many different meanings, but one of the meanings is the that of Allah, right? The essence of Allah, right? The other things you can say are those things that basically do take you to make you wajih with Allah, right? Those things that make you persist with Allah, those are the things that are the wajh, right? So wajh in the sense of basically what takes you closer to Allah, those things that Allah holds in high esteem. That is wajh, right? So some people they say, so the wajh is the Ahlul Bayt, the awliya of Allah, right? They are, because they're the direction that Allah wants you to turn to, right? The word wajh has this meaning of direction, right?
It's beautiful because Ibrahim alayhi salam talks, right? He's like, "Wajjahtu wajhiya."
Yeah.
So when he says "Wajjahtu wajhiya," so wajjahtu is I moved my direction, and he says wajhiya, which is face.
Right.
We can also understand it as the direction of my actions, right? الذي فطر السماوات والأرض. And you can say you can say that he's directing himself towards Kaaba, sure, but is Allah in Kaaba? Is that kind of like what you're saying?
Yeah. Ahsant. Yeah. So there's a lot of depth and beauty that we can derive from this word. We could do a whole sharh of just this one word. And Sharif Murtada, who's one of our great scholars, he has a whole commentary about this word, inshallah. Yeah, and it's very, very deep. And he talks about, refuting those mujassima, those anthropomorphists, and understand how to understand this word in the Quran. The word ayn is also used in the Quran, right? So, for instance, وَاصْنَعِ الْفُلْكَ بِأَعْيُنِنَا, right? Allah, He's telling Prophet Nuh that make the ark in front of our eyes, right? Or, yeah, بِأَعْيُنِنَا, right? So, in the plural, in front of our eyes, right? So, تَجْرِي بِأَعْيُنِنَا, this is another, when Allah is talking about the ark of Prophet Nuh, He says it was floating, in front of our eyes, right? So people, they say, oh, this means Allah has eyes, right? But we say ayn, there's two meanings of ayn here. It could mean physical eyes, or it can mean protection or supervision, right? Yeah, from like himaya, himaya or ri'aya, like it was in Allah's purview. It was Allah was the one supervising. Allah was the one who was protecting this ark as it was, going through the water, right? So that's because we know Allah doesn't have a physical component, right? So this must be the meaning, right? So we automatically take the figurative significance of this word because we recognize that that physical word does not apply to Allah, right? Brother Muhammad?
As like an argument saying that, it says ayn in like plural, like our eyes. So
Yeah.
you're saying that it's like multiple Allahs or something? Because if you take everything literal, then might as well.
Yeah.
He's saying it's more than two eyes because in Arabic you have to say aynayn.
Yeah.
If you say ayununa, it means there's more than two.
Yes.
Right? Because in Arabic it's like singular and then double and then more than double.
Oh,
Yeah.
No. But in Quran he doesn't say aynayya. He doesn't say my two eyes. He says ayununa. He's saying I have more than two eyes.
Yeah.
If you were to take it literally, because I don't think in the Quran, at least to my knowledge, he never says aynay or bi'aynay.
No.
He never says my two eyes. So even the imagination that you mentioned Allah, you have to say that he has more than two eyes.
This one also later.
Yeah. I mean, another good example is the word yad, right? So the word yad, for instance, تَبَارَكَ الَّذِي بِيَدِهِ الْمُلْكِ, right? Glory be to the one in whose hand is the kingdom, right? So بِيَدِهِ الْمُلْك, right? Then there's other verses where Allah says, for instance, what is it? Yadullahi maghlula, right? Yes. Or I'll give you another example where Allah says, what is it? Bima khalaqtu biyaday. Yeah. This that Allah is saying that He created Adam with His own two hands. So He's saying yaday, my two hands, right? So now people are like, oh, Allah has two hands, right? But then Allah, there's other verses of the Quran where Allah says, وَالسَّمَاءَ بَنَيْنَاهَا بِأَيْدٍ, right? By the heavens which we created with hands, like multiple hands, not just two hands, but multiple hands, right? So now you have Allah has yad, or He has yadain, He has one hand, two hands, or multiple hands, right? Yeah, yeah. So there's other verses of the Quran that say, that the heavens وَالسَّمَاوَاتُ مَطْوِيَاتٌ بِيَمِينِهِ, that Allah will hold the heaven on the day of judgment, right? وَمَا قَدَرُ اللَّهَ حَقَّ قَدْرِهِ وَالْأَرْضُ جَمِيعًا قَبْضَتُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَالسَّمَاوَاتُ مَطْوِيَاتٌ بِيَمِينِهِ. This is a very figurative, powerful verse. It says they have not given Allah the proper estimation, right? The earth in its entirety will be in His grasp on the day of judgment, right? And the heavens will be rolled up like a scroll in His right hand, right?
But Allah doesn't mention anything about a left hand, just as a right hand. So does He have a bunch of right hands, two right hands? Like,
Yeah. So how do you understand these verses, right? So I mean all these terms, right? Qabda, Yameen, Yad, right? So we say that all of this it emphasizes Allah's power, His sovereignty, His authority, right? The word Yad has that significance, right? In Arabic, that's also one of the meanings of Yad, right? So, there's another verse, Yadullahi fawqa aydihim, that the hand of Allah is over their hands, right? So this is talking about Allah's authority, Allah's power, right? Allah's power surpasses all their powers, right? So that's the way we understand the word yad, because it's impossible for Allah to have a physical hand, right? So
just as in some
Yeah.
hadiths that some brothers have, where they maybe validate some of these thoughts that they have. There's also hadiths that actually invalidate their thoughts, like for the yad. You say when the hadith that says if you donate to a poor person, if you donate to somebody, you're donating exactly to Allah's hand. The money is going into Allah's hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is this hadith? Is the poor person's hand Allah's hand? Is that what you're saying? So how come the metaphor works here and not somewhere else?
And Abu Talib raised the Prophet, Allah said, I raised the Prophet. So that's the thing. Actually, Quran is a circle. And they have taken a circle on their own without ignoring the other circle, which supposed to explain this circle.
Yes.
So that's where the whole problem starts.
Ahsant, yeah. So you see, I mean, this is why when you go to ulum of Ahlul Bayt, you start to see how much more profound, how much more deep the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt are than these other madhahib, these other, branches of Islam. If you don't have the Ahlul Bayt guiding you, you can get lost in this ocean, right, of trying to understand these verses of the Quran. And unfortunately, this interpretation that we're giving, naturally, it fits your fitrah, it fits your natural inclination. Human beings who are truly have, a conscience, they immediately recognize that this makes sense. Whereas, I've even talked to Sunnis, they're like, oh, we don't believe that about Allah, that Allah has hands, that Allah, no, that doesn't sound right, But the thing is, but if you look at their scholars, they actually say this, The actual educated people amongst them say that yes, Allah has hands, He has a face. We just can't ask how. We can't ask how He has hands and a face. Remember, we said, why is this nonsensical? Why is that nonsensical to say that Allah has hands, He has a face, He has eyes, but we can't ask how? There's no kayf. You can't ask kayf. Do you remember how we said that doesn't make sense? Do you guys remember? What do we say about that? About why that's illogical?
About what?
So if somebody does this doctrine of balkafa means they say that Allah has a face, but we can't ask what are the characteristics of this face. We can't ask how does He have a face. We just know He has a face, but it's not like human faces.
You still categorize it as
Yeah.
the definition of face, which
Yeah.
by definition of face has limits.
Yeah. So they say basically lahu wajhun laysa kal awjuh, right? He has a face, but it's not like other faces, right? Lahu yadun laysa kal aydi. He has a hand, but it's not like other hands, right? So that's what they say about Allah, right? They constantly say that Allah has this, but at the same time we're going to say that Allah transcends everything. Allah transcends every understanding of hand that we have, but He does have a hand. Why does this not make sense? What do you think?
It's a paradox.
It doesn't make sense. It's nonsensical. Why? Because hand, the term hand has a signification, right? It has a meaning in any language. When you say yad, when you say hand, people automatically understand you're talking about, somebody who has, basically a palm with fingers that move, right? So if you say, oh, he has a hand, but it's not like human hands, it doesn't have a palm, it doesn't have fingers, then what is that? Like you're basically completely refuting the actual definition of hand. You're saying he has a hand, but actually this hand is undefinable. We cannot define it, right? He has a face, but we can't define the word face. So you strip the word of every significance of what face actually means, what hand actually means. You say that it's still Allah's. Allah still has this.
And you're ridiculing the Quran again.
Yeah. By saying that Allah is using words that we can't even understand, right? He's using words that we cannot even understand. We cannot even comprehend what it means.
Understand why Umar took the soul out and said nobody says prophet is dead.
Yeah.
He got emotional outbursts and I would kill anybody. So they cannot explain what kind of emotions he was going through.
Yeah.
So when you say that, like, so you can basically
Not all of them, inshallah.
you can basically say that, like, so they're basically saying something limited is unlimited.
Yeah.
Paradox.
Yes, like they're
Yeah.
contradicting themselves.
Right. So that's why that statement does not make sense. But this is, believe it or not, this is the dominant Sunni position.
At least academically.
Academically, the Sunnis, this is what they believe. Like, this is what their scholars, the Ash'ira or the Ash'aris, this is the Ash'aris, or most of the Hanafis are Ash'aris, right? This is the predominant theology that they have, and they say, yes, we believe in Bal Kafa. Bal Kafa means that we can say Allah has a hand bila kayf. He has a face bila kayf, right? We cannot, bila kayf means without kayf, without asking kayf, Kayf in Arabic means how, right? Kayfa haluk, for instance, right? Yeah, we don't know how. We don't know how, but Allah has a hand. We don't know how, but He has a face. Yeah.
Well, we don't know if it's beautiful. It's just
Yeah.
Like what type of face?
you can go deeper. It's like Allah never mentioned the nose, so it's a face with I don't know how many more than 2 eyes. We already said that. And then
What kind of nose? What kind of
he talks to
eyes?
Musa. He's a
Allah has a green
ears,
eye, yellow eye.
but he never
Right.
talked about smelling, so he has no nose. It gets very absurdist.
I think at a point when you try to compare Allah to like yourself, because like when we try to like say He has like body parts or anything that we do, compare Him to that, then you're just limiting it like in general, like
Yes.
no matter how you try to justify it, because like how you were saying, they were saying that He has a face, but He has a hand, but we don't know, like we can't define it.
And you also added the contingencies. Now that if you remove the hand, then Allah is not Allah anymore.
He's not
Yeah. Right.
inter.
Yeah, we talked about how Allah cannot have a body, right? Because a body is complex, it has parts, and it introduces interdependencies. So you can say, if I were to take away Allah's hand, is He still Allah? If I were to take away His eye, is He still Allah? Right? So that makes it so He's not wajib al-wujud anymore. Now He's a contingent existence, right? He needs His parts, right? So we said how that contradicts Allah, right? Because Allah doesn't have any need. So Allah is absolutely simple. There's no complexity in Allah. There's no partitions and divisions you can make in the divine essence, right? Allah is pure perfection, right? There's no divisions or ability. You cannot particularize or break off a piece of Allah. If you can break off a piece of Allah, He ceases to be Allah, right? So inshallah, we'll stop there, inshallah, for today.